Hadi. Good morning, everyone. Okay. So I'm joined on stage this morning with former Chief Dominic Frederick. As I call him, Sensei. So it is my pleasure to be here this morning on behalf of our elders, members, chief and council administration. I asked my councillors, and our executive director, to be here with me today on our unceded territory to welcome you. As we work as a team, and as a team, we do work well together. And as you can tell, we have delegated our other councillors to other areas, so they couldn't be in attendance this morning, but they send their regrets. So 2 years ago, in April, our members elected chief and 5 councillors to lead our nation. As a newly elected chief, I said from day one that it would not just be me, it'd also be our members and our council speaking on our behalf. But we all share the load, and they've done a great job this past 2 years. Just before I move on to share my main message of the day, I want to thank the C3 Alliance for bringing this fantastic event back to the territory in Prince George. I imagine it would have been easily to justify this, to have this in Vancouver or the island, Kamloops, but when I hear natural resources, I think of northern BC. But as we heard during the opening banquet last night, this event was started in Prince George 20 years ago, as to serve as a platform for respectful conversation to share land use and sustainable natural resources management. And a lot has changed in the past 20 years. And a lot more changes will come in the next 20 years. Somebody mentioned yesterday that we work in silos. We have the government, industry, First Nations. That's changing. Now we all need to come together at the same table and work on a brighter future. And I want to thank the C3 Alliance to bring us together again here today for some very important conversations we're about to have. Even more important, in my view, because the BC and the federal governments have made it clear that Indigenous communities will be involved in land use and resource management decisions. So what does this mean for business and industry seeking projects in our unceded territory? Soon after we were elected in 2021, our council began a conversation to try and answer that question. What does our nation need? Government, business, industry, to understand our history and our connection to the lands. What do we need? Everyone to understand about the starting point for any conversation is about resource extraction and major projects. What does the road of reconciliation look like for Lheidli T'enneh in our territory? Well, we concluded that our starting point was to start for everyone to understand that we have never signed over or given our rights and title to our unceded territory. We determined that this was extremely important to us as the rights and title holders of our territory. And we determined that if governments, industry, and business were genuine in their request to meet with us and to do business and move forward to benefit everyone in our territory, we have to accept this as our starting point. So we decided to capture our views in our declaration. We made the document public on National Indigenous Day last year, and we stated that this was our way to reasserting our ownership in our unceded territory. Our declaration is on our website for everyone and all to see and read. After making our declaration public, some had warned us they felt it was too aggressive and that it might prevent someone from wanting to work with us. Well, in fact, the opposite has occurred, totally opposite. We have been more busier than ever. None of our current business partners canceled any meetings. New project proponents continue to reach out to us and a number of groups and organizations in Prince George who wanted to explore partnership agreements with us continue to grow. It was as if, excuse me, it was as people were looking for clarity around the rights and title and owner issues, and we gave it to them, and they said thank you. No more uncertainty. So we're going to be here for the most of the day today and tomorrow, so if you want to learn more about our declarations, I encourage you to check it out, and we're here to talk about it. So our key message for 2023 is that our declaration is a starting point for all of our futures. And if you want to work with us and improve the quality of life for our members and our community, and when I do say community, I mean Prince George and surrounding areas, is that we work together. And it's a starting point, and I have to tell you, I've had so many people come up to ask me since I've been in for chief is, how do we engage with First Nations? And I tell them, well, kick it old school. Knock on our door, reach out, phone. So don't be scared to interact with First Nations. We're here. We're here for business, all of First Nations. And yeah, just pick up the phone, call. So I want to thank you again for this opportunity to be here at this event. And I look forward to being here for many, many more years. And know that by working together, we will all be stronger and realize a greater benefits for everyone. Snachalya. Thank you, Sensei.
Thank you so much to Chief Logan and Sensei Domo. I now know what his title is. So I would really like to recognize all the chiefs, the Indigenous elders, the mayors, MLAs and ministers, as well as all local government representatives who are with us today. You know, I can say with confidence that everyone in this room is extremely proud of the work they do. It's hard work. It's hard work in the natural resource sector. And you should be proud because it is the backbone of BC's economy. And without our natural resource sector, we would not be able to have the quality of life that we enjoy today. You know, last night we were really happy that Premier David Eby came and joined us, providing a keynote at the Celebrating 20 Years Natural Banquet, and that marked the 10th anniversary of the Premier engaging at BCNRF. You know, that's extremely important. It's important that we all come together and we have this opportunity to discuss some of the challenges ahead of us. I don't think I have to tell this audience that we all know the resource sector is critical to BC, so we are so pleased to have everyone be able to come and gather on the territories of the Lheidli T'enneh. So the theme of this year's forum is how BC is contributing to an innovative, responsible, and respectful natural resource sector, which hopefully is going to make waves through our international community. You know, our net zero future is dependent on our natural resources, and it's a sector that's already demonstrating that's leading the way in innovation and ESG practices. So we all know there's a lot of work to do, and that's why we're all gathered here today. So I really want to wish everyone a fun and enjoyable, productive BCNRF, and also a big thank to our sponsors, without whom we would not be able to make this important event happen. So our patron sponsor, Rio Tinto, has been with us for 20 years, so I'd just like to acknowledge Rio Tinto with a round of applause. So now it's my great pleasure to invite our locally elected officials to the stage to kick off this morning. So if I could have MP Zimmer and MLA Bond, Mayor Yu, and Osane Zarantes and Boba. Oh, I'm working on that, okay. Anyways, while they're joining me, there's a couple more housekeeping items. Please turn your phones to silent, but do keep them with you. Log into the Whova app. That's where our Q&A will take place. That's where you can ask our speakers direct questions. And next, recognizing that we are quite crowded, many people standing along the sides of the room. I mean, standing is a great thing to do, but there are lots of seats. So if anyone has an empty seat behind them or beside them, please just raise your hand so everyone is aware. But anyone who wants to take that moment to sit down now, please go ahead and do so. And finally, I'd like to thank our morning coffee sponsor, ConocoPhillips Canada. Great. And you guys are in the right order. Nice work. Okay, so first I'd like to invite Mr. Bob Zimmer, our MP for Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies, to the podium.
We have this little speech clock up here, so we'll see if that actually works today. Welcome to the BC Natural Resources Forum. I first of all want to thank Pat Bell. Is Pat in the room? Maybe it's too early for a recovering politician. But I wanted to thank Pat, and I know Mike is here, Mike Morris, for Pat for having the idea to start it initially, and Mike Morris for continuing that on after, but also to Sarah Weber for continuing it on again to this day. Welcome to my riding of Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies. It is one of the largest ridings in Canada. I believe it's still the 9th largest riding in the country at 243,276 square kilometers. And we have 111,000 people that work and live here. I am the Shadow Minister for Northern Affairs, Arctic Sovereignty, and Northern Economic Development. And yes, it took me a while to actually memorize that. And serve on the Federal Indigenous and Northern Affairs Committee, or INAN for short. I've toured across the territories over the last couple of years, and what I've heard consistently, just what we hear locally, is that members from our northern communities, including Indigenous communities, want to responsibly develop our resources. And the world needs our ethically produced energy. From a recent BBC article I just was pulling up today, the world population in 2022 of 8 billion is projected to increase and reach 9.8 billion by 2050, according to a UN report. Over 70% of the increased energy demand is from developing countries like China and India, and we all know that in this room especially. As countries develop, their populations will require more energy, and that's from the BBC. Again, we know that. Further, what we've seen recently, the geopolitical reality in the world, shows that there's more to just the needs of energy than just the market. We are geopolitical allies of countries like Japan, Germany, Europe, and really other countries around the world. And we need to step up to supply our friends with the much needed energy and critical minerals that they need. We have been reminded very recently the desperate need for Canadian energy from our allies. Most recently, the Japanese Prime Minister visiting Canada and German Chancellor also have been seeking a safe and trusted supply of energy from a trusted friend. One of the first memories I have of this conference, attending it many years ago, was meeting the Japanese ambassador, and I wondered, why is the Japanese ambassador at a natural resource forum in Prince George? And just like it is now, the need for energy in Japan is great, and they're coming to their trusted ally, Canada, asking for it. But instead of commitments to help our friends from our Prime Minister, they were told, sorry, we're closed. Recently in November, I was honored to visit Kitimat and tour the LNG Canada facility with our new leader, Pierre Poilievre. Some of you might have seen Pierre around. He's a bit of a rock star. I don't know, anybody in the room, show me a hand if you got to hear Pierre firsthand. Anybody? There's a few. You can admit it. One thing that this room, most of you know, and I know very well, the Haisla Chief Chris Smith and former Chief and current MLA Ellis Ross, and we visited with them in their home area and spoke about how the project and the prosperity that came with it benefited their local community, not to mention our province and our country. We were received extremely well by staff. But when we're actually at the LNG Canada facility, once word got out that Pierre was there was lineups that were starting to form to try and get a photo with him or shake his hand. It was quite something. But what a shame that we weren't building more projects like LNG Canada in BC. What we have seen is an anti-resource development government, federally and provincially, get in the way of these promising projects in many ways. Projects that would greatly displace much higher emitting forms of energy and reduce pollution. We federal Conservatives get it. From our Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre. Northern BC natural gas, brought by the Coastal GasLink pipeline with its liquefaction facility, which will be the cleanest and greenest in the world. With 35% less emissions per unit of energy, that comes out of it than any other facility on planet Earth. This is good for our Earth, good for our people. It puts First Nations in charge of their own destinies. It makes Canada more self-reliant to stand on its own feet. We will remove the gatekeepers, develop the most ethically and most environmentally and friendly liquefied natural gas on Earth, and supply our own energy needs and the energy needs of our friends and allies. Let's do it. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you so much, Bob. Now I would like to call on Shirley Bond to give a welcome on behalf of the province, our local MLA here at Prince George Valemount. Shirley.
Well, good morning and welcome to Prince George. I want to recognize we are on the traditional territory of the Lheidli T'enneh and recognize my friend, Chief Logan, obviously Domo as well. It's wonderful to see you again. Chief Logan, thank you for your friendship, for your leadership, and for the wisdom you demonstrate in understanding that the most important thing we can do is work together for the people that live here on your traditional territory. It is the 20th anniversary of this forum, and I can tell you that I have been here since the very beginning. And I want to recognize Pat, my former colleague, and I remember on a flight home from Victoria one day, and as you know, we make that commute weekly, he said to me, I think we should have a resource forum in Prince George. So I kind of ignored him for a moment, and then he went on to say, I also think that I should start the Canada's most northern winery. And ironically, I sort of wrote that off as well, and he managed to do both of them, so congratulations to Pat. I want to just recognize for a moment that our community has gone through a very devastating situation in the last week. And we're not alone in facing that in British Columbia. And as we sit here today as leaders in industry or First Nations leaders or elected officials, 300 families are trying to figure out what's going to happen for them in the months ahead. And I think the timing of this conference is really important, not just this week, but where we sit in our province. I'm delighted that my leader, Kevin Falcon, has joined us here. A number of my colleagues are also here. And what British Columbians expect us to do is to work together as leaders in industry, as community leaders, to figure out how we are going to ensure that next week and next year and in the decades ahead, we have a thriving resource sector in this province. That is our job. That's what people expect us to do. And that's what this forum provides the possibility for us to do. So now more than ever, we need all hands on deck. We need to grapple with the issues that we are facing related to uncertainty, to a significant labor shortage in this province. We want to do the things in an environmentally responsible way. We need to attract investment back to Northern British Columbia, to the province of British Columbia. So I commit to you, as a person who loves this community that I live in, that I am honored to represent, we're going to work hard every single day to make sure that no one forgets the importance of the resource sector, the forest industry, oil and gas, mining, all of those things that have been the heart of the economy of this province. It mattered in the past. Enjoy your conversations today. It's time to have those tough decisions and discussions about what the future looks like. But we're up to the task. I know we can do it. Thank you for including me today in the conference.
Thank you so much, Shirley. Now I'd like to invite Mayor Simon Yu, the Mayor of Prince George, to join me.
Thank you. Absolutely, you can do it. Hadi, on behalf of my colleague, City Council, and the City of Prince George, it is a great honor to say a few words here amongst you today. To our host, Sarah, thank you very much for hosting this great event. to our sponsors, special guests, Bob, Shirley, and all the dignitary here. Your presence here reinforces something I always know and I always believe. Prince George is such an important place. It is the resource, it's not only just the resource center for the province of BC, but really of a global importance. And I personally had an experience with this forum. About 17 years ago, it's a grade of coffee here. Great, yeah. And FII, I believe Victoria from FII is here. At this forum, I received the go-ahead and to try to using the local timber and to make some homes and to do some demonstration after the 2003 tsunami in Indonesia represented a province. And the consequences of the conversation I had during the forum, it resulted in we built a couple of villages in Aceh using the Prince George timber, using the Prince George knowledge. So I know, even personally, what we do here is important, has a global impact. And I'm not a politician, so forgive me. I'm just going to speak from my heart. It was kind of very sad. Last week, we learned the closure of one of the pulp line at the Prince George Pulp. 300 families affected. But to me, it's to a lot of us, we know this area. It's kind of like a beloved grandma just passed away. We kind of expected, due to the beetle kill and due to various factors, that the mill probably will need to close one of the lines. But when the time came, still it's very sad. I feel very bad for the 300 families affected. And right after this meeting, we'll be meeting with the government to see what is the package we'll have for these 300 families. And I welcome the $90 million announcement last night from the Premier, and I'm sure we can put it to a good usage. We are facing great uncertainty in the days ahead, in the years ahead. We all feel it. But during the uncertainty, we need some anchors. What we can be certain. We can be certain working together, innovative, use innovation, working together with the university here to put some of the natural resources to make a secondary industry. That's important. It's certain that Prince George is at the center of Americas and the entire Asia. We are right in the center. That is certain. That is not going to change. Working face to face, find solutions in a setting like this, it is important. That is for certain. And for you guys, I want you guys to be certain the mayor of Prince George will definitely do whatever I can to roll up the red tape and roll out the red carpet to you. And I just want to say one more time, your presence here reinforces the importance of Prince George. And in the days ahead, I pledge myself, my council, my city to work diligently work together with you, with my partners, Darlene. And yes, I want to acknowledge, we are on the unceded territory of Canadian Tenate. And I really treasure our partnership. And together, I truly believe we can do some amazing things together. Yes, Grandma has gone, but I just learned my daughter-in-law just got pregnant, so good things gonna come. All good, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mayor. Lastly, I would like to invite Zarina Osante Balbuena, the Management Carbon Reliability Advisor of Rio Tinto, our patron sponsor, to provide a welcome on.
Good morning. As the patron sponsor, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 20th Annual BC Natural Resources Forum. Rio Tinto is proud to be a founding sponsor of this forum since 2002, and to continue participating in a conference that brings together community, First Nations, business, and government leaders from across BC. I would like to thank the Cléti Téné for welcoming us into the traditional territory to participate in the events this week. I want to acknowledge the Haisla, Kitchelas, Kichunkeilium, and Gitga'at traditional territories where our BC smelter is located in Kitimat. Last but not least, I also would like to acknowledge the Cheslata Kari, the Skintai, the Nitaiban, the Saikus, Estela, and Oliweten nations in the Nechako watersheds where we operate, and other territories of indigenous people throughout the province. I am Suriño Sante Balbuena. I am a reliability advisor at Rio Tinto BC Works in Kitimat, and I am supporting the asset management, operations, and maintenance teams. My role focuses on ensuring the health of the assets to produce safely and reliably, reducing production losses, and optimizing maintenance strategies. As the drivers of our own future, industry leaders, indigenous leaders, elected officials, and providers, there is no better way to rethink about what the future will look like than participating in open discussions about the challenges and opportunities ahead of us during this forum. Rio Tinto has been operating in BC for almost 70 years, and we plan to continue in BC, producing aluminum with one of the lowest carbon footprint in the world, contributing to our province economy, and investing in communities for many decades to come. To hear and learn more about Rio Tinto, I invite you to join our General Managers for the BC Works Smelter, Simon Pascoe, at 10:25 this morning. He will discuss the company's current practices, partnerships, commitment to climate action, as well as current challenges and opportunities. I also welcome you to join for an exciting presentation that is called Uncovering the History of Human Assistance in BC, an innovative partnership between indigenous people and industry, which will be presented by the Cheslata Kari Nation and my colleague Kevin Dovin at 10:45 today. As part of Rio Tinto's 150th anniversary this year, we are going to do something different in our booth. So instead of providing the usual gift away items, what we are going to do is that each time a visitor is coming to our booth, complete our 5-question survey, we are going to make a donation of $150 to one of our partners. So the visitor is going to be able to also select to whom of our partners would like to make the donation. So I encourage you to visit us to our booth to celebrate with us our 150th anniversary, operating globally by promoting the programs and projects in our local communities. So I look forward to meet you in the booth and enjoy the forum. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, and congratulations to Rio Tinto on 150 years. So that concludes our welcoming program. I've got some gifts I will give our party dignitaries, and I will hand the microphone over to Kevin. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks very much. Let's hear it for Sarah Weber, please, and our esteemed panel of welcomers, Bob and Shirley and Simon and the rest of the team. I can tell you as a longtime attendee, I have never heard a Mayor of Prince George ever come close to giving that kind of honest, frank welcome and look ahead. Folks standing around the edges of the room, please feel free to go and occupy a vacant seat. You're going to meet some really neat people when you sit down and enjoy this first panel coming up this morning. It is called Big Ideas, Great Forestry, BC's Story. What's next for BC's forest sector? I'd like to remind you at this time we're going to be using Whova as our digital program and live question and answer tool. All changes to the program will be made here and online. In addition, there are speaker bios, the trade show exhibitors, the map, and more. We can encourage you to check out Whova. We'll also be using Whova for the Q&A, as I mentioned. Log on details. Thank you, Your Worship. We'll see you later in the program. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to submit them through Whova and vote on your favorite questions. Most of our moderators take a look at the numbers, and that's how they decide what questions are going to be asked. Questions with the highest number of votes will stand a better chance to be answered by the speakers. Due to time constraints, however, we may not be able to address all questions. The good news is, as Chief Logan told us earlier, most of our panelists and speakers and guests are going to be around for the next 2 days, so just approach them nicely out in the lobby or at the breaks and introduce yourself and ask your questions. So it's not like if you don't get to ask a question, you don't get to get the answers to your questions that you need. That's the whole idea. Right, Dan Jepson? With BC Natural Resources Forum. 2 days together. Does it get any better? I don't think so.